Marcus Pick, and this is where I recommend comics for challengers. I recommend Bitch Planet.
Oh, no, you don't. No, you don't.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Dal and Patrick.
Do we have a guest with us in the room this week?
I don't think so.
Who's that?
That is a cardboard stand-up of the character Bumblebee from Transformers Prime.
Is he going to talk?
I don't think he is.
Why is he looking at me like that?
I couldn't tell you.
Can you ask him?
I won't.
You know he won't talk to me.
Okay.
Because he's cardboard, he doesn't talk to anybody.
He does.
But he knows
correct.
that you like him more than I do.
I don't think he knows anything as he's...
He knows that I
Cardboard
carried
standee.
him home in a snowstorm,
It's true.
using him to deflect the snow from my face.
It's true.
He's just so imposing. I lean back in this chair
Sure.
next to our TARDIS tree,
Mm-hmm.
complete with a new Captain America ornament, thanks to my sister Karen.
Neat.
It's over on this side, though.
I don't believe you.
And I don't see you most of the time we record unless
Mhm.
we each look around to.
Sure.
But now I see Bumblebee, and kind of like Bumblebee's crotch is eye level.
Yeah, there's a forced perspective thing going on where he sort of kind of leans back a bit in the image.
Yeah, otherwise he'd be like a couple of stories high, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this gives it a sense of, again, trying to keep it in some sort of perspective.
I guess that's a thing you have to do with taller things, but I've noticed that with literally every cardboard cutout has dimensionality to it, not
Right.
like a cardboard cutout of a illustration of the Falcon or something like that.
Sure.
But the TARDIS that I have in my room is leaning back, so it's smaller at the top
Right.
as opposed to bigger on the inside.
Correct.
And the CM Punk one we have in the back room of Challengers, his head is massive, but like he's leaning at you.
Yeah,
He's leaning towards you, so his head is huge, and everything
I
else.
think anything that's a 1-to-1 scale, they usually keep kind of a dead-on perspective, but anything that's supposed to be much larger than the standee is going to be large at the bottom and small at top to give it that sense of, like, you're looking at it from way down low.
You're at the bottom of the Empire State Building looking straight up,
Exactly.
and it gets much smaller.
That it's receding into the distance.
But the Falcon standee, which had massive add-on wings, and eventually lost his life because of said wings, was, even though he was, like, he wasn't flying at you, but he was crouched running at you, so his arms were out, so the wings could be out, but his torso was a different level and his legs were smaller.
Okay.
Even that was oddly done. I guess the idea of a standee for Falcon was interesting to me because of his giant wings, and it's like, well, do you give him the wings? It would be like a Captain America standee without the shield, which they've done.
Yeah, it's peculiar.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, do you do a Hawkeye standee without his quiver? Well, you can't really see it, can you? Poking over his shoulder.
Right.
And that's why you can't do a good Firestorm standee, because where do you cut out around the flame? On the top of his head.
I guess you could run, like, a fan along the back of it, and then have one of those, like, fakey paper...
Crepe paper flickering, yeah.
You could definitely do that.
Like those people at Comic-Cons have those torches set up
Yeah.
when the sword booths and whatnot.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, you can tell when we're talking about cardboard stand-ups at the beginning that we really have a
It was not my idea.
very tight-knit plan of what we're going to be talking about. But let's jump right into it, because I literally just got home from
Local comic shop day.
Local Comic Shop Day. That was today.
The inaugural local comic shop day.
Yes, the first and last ever Local Comic Shop Day.
Well, that just cuts right to
happened
the chase then, doesn't
today.
it?
I know. All right. We've talked about what Local Comic Shop Day was or supposed to be before.
Yeah, Local Comic Shop Day was put together by Comics Pro, the comics professional retailer organization. And they didn't really do a lot in the way of guidelines, but the anchor of the event was going to be a limited amount of exclusive items put together by participating publishers. And when they broached the topic of doing an event for Local Comic Shop Day, they said it might include original material, but either they couldn't get that done in time or no publisher wanted to create original material for the event. So all that ended up being produced was either variant covers or variant formats. Like, some companies just did, like, a different cover for All New Wolverine #1, and some companies did a hardcover edition of this graphic novel or whatever. But pretty much every major publisher participated, and some minor ones. And the whole scope of it was similar to Record Store Day, where there would be this exclusive merchandise that would bring people into stores, and then while they're there, stores could do other stuff, but the other stuff wasn't really part of the event. That's just on stores to either do something for it or not, up to them.
So we did our version of it, which, as we've talked about before, was we had 4 creators in, we had a craft maker in, we had the actual local comic shop day books, and we had a $2 sale on newer comics, as we called it.
Right.
And I had a dollar amount in my head of what I wanted to do for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you and I always come at these events with a, what do you want to do? What's your goal?
Sure.
And a goal, the way we get to a goal takes different formats depending on the event and the goal itself.
Yeah, some of the other variables are like the frustration factor, where like, how much work did we have to put into this? And then what amount of money would make that amount of work seem worthwhile?
Well, I look at it from the standpoint of how much we spent.
Right.
Like how much we paid for the variant covers. Or that's how I would look at it normally.
Sure.
My goal...
Like the buy-in, essentially.
Yeah.
And the goal is such a weird thing to have in general, because a lot of that stuff is largely out of our hands by the time the event starts. Like, all the things we can do to hopefully drive up sales are done in the weeks and months ahead of the event. Once the event starts, people show up or they don't. And if they don't show up, there's really not much you can do about it.
Right. So the specific goal that I had was a number built off of the fact that we were closed Thursday. Friday was not a great business day. So I wanted to do an average Saturday, an average Thursday, and the difference of an average Friday all rolled up into this one day.
Right.
That was this is what we need to do to make this worthwhile number.
And your goal wasn't, like, insane. Your goal was very reasonable.
But
and it's definitely way lower than, like, Batman Day and Free Comic Book Day.
And when I make that goal, I still have but I'd like to do this.
Sure.
And because Batman Day was so huge and it clobbered our goal for the day.
Oh, yeah.
My goal was almost half of what we actually did for Batman Day.
Right.
And not counting credits or tax or anything like that, basically before any employees had checked out, we were $6 over my goal.
Okay, I sort of figured. I'd seen the square totals through the day, and I figured what normally is a cash amount for the corresponding charges, and I figured you got there or you got within spitting distance, you might as well have gotten it.
Right. But here's the thing. I think we would have done that regardless.
Yeah, it's tough to say what a Saturday after Thanksgiving would normally be. Like, Friday, we didn't really do that great, so I don't know if Saturday would have been better or would have not been better. I mean, I'll be honest, I went a few different places on Black Friday, just kind of walking around. I didn't see a lot of people out shopping. I didn't see a lot of people out doing anything. Like, for instance, I went to Chipotle on Friday, and in years past, Chipotle on Black Friday is slammed because everyone's out shopping and everyone's out getting food while they're shopping.
And they call it Black Bean Friday, right?
I don't think they do.
Missed opportunity.
So this time there were like 3 other people in the restaurant in the middle of Black Friday, and that seemed like an indicator of like maybe people aren't doing as much shopping this year. Or maybe they are, and they just weren't doing shopping on Damon Avenue.
Well, here's an interesting statistic. Wow, what a weird word for me to say. Statistic that I read that I don't know how they back it up. And it said that this holiday season, consumers are prepared to spend 25% more than last holiday season.
Sure.
And I thought, how do you know that?
A lot of that's just on
know
polling.
that?
They poll people and they ask them, like, how much are you planning on spending this year? And then they compare that to last year and they go, okay, well, people seem like they're going to be spending 25% more than they were last year.
What a weird, arbitrary number to pick
I don't know.
out.
I mean, do you if you were to do the math, do you have an idea of what you're going to spend on friends and family for Christmas?
If I do the math, I don't. I don't have any concept of what I'm spending.
Right, but if you were asked to do so and were given 5 minutes to figure it out and were inclined to do so, you could come up with a ballpark number,
Right,
not
but
like an exact
I can't
dollar
compare
figure.
it to what I spent last year, because I don't remember what I spent last year.
But the comparison is not on you, it's on the pollsters.
Oh, I see.
Like, they ask you this year, and then they look at what average people said in 2014, and they're able to say, okay, 25% more.
We asked 25% more people, and our results said this.
I imagine the math is pretty complex for something like that.
For Black Friday, or this year I think we were calling it Black Goliath Friday,
Okay.
or we would have if we would have had a sale. My goal was to every year change like last year it was Black Panther Friday, but we didn't do anything this year. And we had about 5 or 6 people ask what our Black Friday sales were, and I would say nothing but tomorrow, and hand them a local comic shop day flyer to get them excited for the next day.
Sure.
And one person looked at it and said, oh, and put it right back.
Uh-huh.
But Friday was only about, 80% of a normal Friday for us. 75 to 80%, give or take.
Right.
Which we've had earlier on, like Black Fridays used to be bad for us.
Sure. Because we don't do any sales on Black Friday.
Right.
And so people go to the places that are doing sales.
Allegedly,
I don't know that for sure.
Looking at the retail community, or at least what they're talking about, and I'll get more into this in a minute when I go back to local comic shop day. I think I would like to try to do an all-out Black Friday sale, because we've always done like small things, like we're doing this one thing.
Yeah, there's things I'd like to do that would differentiate it from
Our regular sale.
Yeah, our February sale, simply because the February sale, I feel like, still needs to have a primacy.
Yes, it absolutely is.
So, yeah, I was...
Our one big sale, and it's a week-long sale.
We build around it, and it comes 2 months
later.
3 months after Black Friday, so it's like, I don't want to do anything that's going to make the February sale in the shadow of that. But as you were talking, I was just thinking about it, and I think I thought about it a little earlier today. If there's ways that we could sort of do something different than our February sale, which is a store-wide flat discount, and do something that's maybe more targeted at specific things, and do what most Black Friday online sales I've seen do, which is pick the stuff you want to get rid of. Like, not the stuff that, like, is the most enticing, but, like, what's a really good discount for stuff that you don't care if you sell at that deep a discount? Like, what if we did... You know, and I'm just spitballing here. This isn't necessarily what's going to happen in 2016. What if we did something where it was like half off all back issues?
Sure.
Or what if we did all half off graphic novels or $5?
Okay.
Things like that, where it's like, if that stuff goes, who cares?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
But is that enough to get people to come in?
I don't know, maybe. It's the sort of stuff that I'd like to try it, maybe, next year.
I've always wanted to do a thing on Black Friday that would require us to have one of the businesses next to us not there.
Right. No, I know what you mean. Maybe that'll happen next year.
Right, maybe. Well, I mean, I was trying to set it up last year,
right.
But...
didn't happen.
Yeah, we found out we had new neighbors.
Yeah, so maybe.
That's how we found out we had new neighbors.
Maybe. But yeah, it's the sort of thing that, depending on how you say local comic shop day went, it was a thing that I was considering for next year, of like either make that our local comic shop day stuff, or maybe just do a Black Friday sale. And I mean, I was even thinking, like, depending on what my schedule is like next year, maybe just be open on Thanksgiving. I don't know, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
If I got stuff to work on, I don't know.
Sure.
It's dependent on, one, not having anything better to do on Thanksgiving, and two...
who the Bears are playing that night.
No, it would be a shortened day. This would not be like 11 to 7, because there's a good chance that I might want to go up to Target and get some stuff on the cheap. So, like, it might be like 11 to 4 or something, you know?
You would close your store to go do shopping somewhere else.
Well, just at that point in the
No,
evening...
I know. And even
I think
at the point you got to Target last night, it would have been well after normal hours anyway.
Right. It would mostly just be like when we would close early on 4th of July or
Sure.
Labor Day or something.
Yeah.
Where, like, by that point in the evening, everyone's at home doing stuff. You might get people in the early part of the day who were either not doing something yet or on their way to something that will stop in. But, yeah, even the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, I was looking at the totals, and it's just, you hit 5 o'clock and it just falls off a cliff. You start to get that point where, like, 2 people come in for the entire hour, because by that point, everybody has already, like, is on their way to something. They don't have comic buying on their mind.
It is true that we were busier earlier that day.
Yeah, which it makes up for it. Basically, all the traffic that would come in between 5 and 7 comes in between 11 and 5.
Yeah, like this year especially, it was an average Wednesday, just at different points in the day.
The customer count was above average. Like, if you look at the end-of-day number, you would not think that we had a dead final 2 hours.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got a little bit off track. But yeah...
that's what this podcast is. Just a natural progression.
A little bit off track.
Speaking of getting off track, Eliza Fry now lives in New York.
That's amazing.
Right?
I remember asking about that.
I said, speaking of getting off track.
That's true. So yeah, I could potentially see us trying to devise something that would allow us to participate in Black Friday in a more recognizable way without necessarily competing with the I Love You But I've Chosen comic sale.
One of the things about...
For example, real quick, I'm sorry. I would probably... The one thing I would stay away from is a discount on graphic novels. Like regular on-the-shelves graphic novels, I would not do a discount on, because then at that point, even if you do 10 or 15%, those are people who might come in February that will maybe not, because they got enough, in quotes, stuff in November. When they would maybe spend more money in February because it's a bigger discount, but now they won't because they got enough.
Well, our specific sale today was... I forget...
$2 newer
I forget what it was because nobody took advantage of it.
Oh, really? I saw some transactions that were of a very specific denomination. Things that were like $22 exactly.
I want to say
exactly.
I rang up
so
about
like,
6 people who got sale books.
That happened. Okay. Is it...
About 6.
Was it one of those events, and I'll be all over the place with my local comic shop day questions. Was it one of those events where people came in and had to be told as they were buying stuff that an event was underway?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Absolutely, yes. Hands down.
So yeah, we should definitely just do Black Friday next year.
Yeah. A lot of people, like the first couple of people who were in, were there for the $2 books.
That is always the worst feeling when you're giving someone a discount who doesn't even know they should be getting a discount.
Yep.
You're just handing money in. Like, here you go. I don't need this, apparently.
Because we had 4 artists in the front windows and Katie down at the very end, we got a lot of, oh, what's going on today?
Uh-huh.
I feel like the banner in the window did nothing this time.
Yeah.
We had an inordinate number of flyers left over.
I saw a lot of people looking at the banner as they passed by, but the banner could have been more dynamic. That's on me.
But I mean, it's a nice, simple, clean logo.
No, it's okay. It's got a lot of words on it, and it needs less words. But it also... some of that is just, it's a first-year event, you know? People don't know what local comic shop day is.
Correct. One of my favorites was a guy who came in, looked around, bought a local comic shop, or bought a book. I thought it was a local comic shop day book, but I guess it isn't for the story. Leaves, comes back in and says, am I missing it? Where are all the free books you're giving out? And I said, there are no free books. There are these local comic shop day books right here. They're not free, but you're welcome to buy them. And he said, oh, and looked around some more, and I honestly don't remember the end of the story. I don't know if he...
The local comic shop day versus Black Friday thing is like Halloween Fest versus Batman Day. Like, Diamond Comics keeps trying to get Halloween Fest off the ground. Like, Halloween Comic Fest. No one knows what that is or cares what it is. So all the promotion for that phrase, for that imagery, that icon...
It doesn't have any weight to it.
It's worthless. Nobody cares or knows what it is. Local Comic Shop Day, and again, some of this is because it's the inaugural event, doesn't mean anything to anybody. But things like Batman and Black Friday, people know what those are. You can harness that for your event. Instead of basically, and not to keep making analogies, it's like when we have a big name creator in the store versus a small name creator that we're excited about. One of those people are naturally excited about, and the other one, it's on us to make people excited, which is always way more work and way less reliable. So something like Batman Day, you see Batman Day in the window, people know what the hell Batman Day is. Like, those two words make perfect sense to people. But local comic shop day, they don't know what that is.
Yep. Now, we did have a couple of regulars specifically come in to support their local comic shop.
And that's cool.
But
we would traditionally, and you can tell me if I'm wrong in this, have people come in on Small Business Saturday when that was a little bit more promoted by American Express. Because people were aware of Small Business Saturday as a thing, and it made them feel good to do it. I mean, not a lot, but some.
I think that it was more well publicized this year.
Okay.
Like all those Muppet PSAs they did for it.
I never saw that. But I heard I think I'd read some stuff online where retailers were saying that they felt like it was less promoted by American Express than it had been previously.
When I said people came in to celebrate their local store, one of the groups of people that came in were coming in because it was Small Business Saturday, not because of Local Comic Shop Day.
Because
then they were going to other local small businesses.
Sure. Ipsento or
Toy de Jour, specifically.
That's cool. But yeah, real quick, for people who didn't know, the reason why Local Comic Shop Day was on the Saturday after Thanksgiving is because that is also Small Business Saturday. So the idea was to sort of piggyback onto that.
Yes.
Because every local comic shop pretty much is a small business.
But the people that specifically came in to support the store for the day did so in their own way, not necessarily taking advantage of any of the things we'd set aside as the celebrations for the day.
They would have come in and spent money regardless of any discount.
So,
while on the other hand, the people who came in Friday specifically for discounts didn't come back on Saturday.
Yep.
So that's the problem. Like, that's why it needs to be on Black Friday, is because that's your shot. Like, that's people are coming in expecting
honestly,
that, and you can show them, meh.
I don't know that if people remember this from years gone by, but we deliberately wouldn't do things on Black Friday because people want to do their major shopping for Black Friday. They want to get the appliances, they want to get the electronics or the media, the DVDs and whatnot, and they want to knock out all their Christmas shopping. People that are buying gifts for comic fans usually wait and do those toward the end because it's a harder experience for them.
Sure. I will be honest with you, and maybe this is just my changing nature of being a consumer in America. I will pretty much just, when I buy stuff on Black Friday, I'm buying it for myself. I will do shopping for other people, but that stuff is usually not on sale. The sale merchandise I buy on Black Friday is for me.
Well, I mean, most of the merchandise you buy regularly is for you.
It's true, but during the holiday season, I do have things I want to get for people, and that isn't necessarily up to Black Friday to move that needle.
I see.
Like, but again, I will buy stuff on Black Friday, but that's just stuff for me.
Sure.
Like, I guess the way I'm looking at it is, there's things where I would not necessarily be interested at full price, but I would be interested at a discount. But when I'm shopping for other people, it's not just about getting them the cheapest thing I can get. It's getting them something that means something, that is either what they're looking for, something I think they'll enjoy. If that happens to be on sale, great. But I wouldn't not get it because it wasn't on sale, or conversely buy something else because it was on sale.
So
but
going back to...
I'll buy Interstellar on Blu-ray for $4, even though when I saw that in the theater, I thought, I'm never going to watch this again. Because it's $4, and if I do want to watch it, now I own it. It's $4.
But even if we do the sale that you were talking about,
right.
like you specifically knew what titles were available for that price when you went.
Oh yeah, well, because they
obviously
posted them online.
Right, but we wouldn't be doing that.
No, but I think there are people... there were things I went in there for. Like, I went to... Okay, real quick. I went to Target on Thanksgiving night because I wasn't doing anything. It was a really nice night out. I like walking. And it was a great night for it. It was mid-50s. There was no one on the sidewalks or streets, so it was a really nice night of being able to walk through a city like Chicago without all of the crush of people or traffic. Those times are few and far between, and I always try and take advantage if the weather supports it. So I went to the Target on Elston around 7:30. And I'd gone there because I'd looked earlier in the day when they'd posted stuff online about what they were doing for discounts, and they were doing a lot of Blu-rays for pretty cheap. So my intention was to get Mad Max Fury Road, which was $9. Two of the recent Daniel Craig, James Bond movies, Quantum of Solace, and Casino Royale, because those were $6 each. And that was pretty much it. I was going to do some grocery shopping when I was there, whatever. So I get there, and I found the movies I was looking for, and I did some grocery shopping. But before I left, I'm like, I don't know, I'll keep looking. And I did. I looked up and down those Blu-ray aisles in case like anything jumped out at me at a decent price. And Interstellar was one that I did not go there to get. But it was $4, so I'm like, sure. And I feel like that's the thing that a bunch of other people might do. Is if you just say, like, you know, these books that are normally, you know, $10 and up or $5, or these books that are normally 99 cents or 50 cents, you will get a bunch of people who will just go digging. They'll find something, you know, or they won't, but they'll come in anyway, and even if they don't find something there, maybe they'll buy something else.
Well, that's always the hope, that maybe they'll buy something else. That's what we rest a whole lot of our business
That's why Black Friday sales exist, for the record. I mean, the reason they sell, you know, $1,000 televisions for $100, or at least the 5 they have in stock, is so that when you buy that, you also buy cables and accessories, and maybe you need some socks too. How about some bread? How about a case of beer? How about a car charger? You know, that sort of stuff. Like, as long as you're there and you already got a good deal, you're more likely to buy a bunch of other stuff.
Up until the car charger, I was trying to figure out this guy's night, but that just adds a whole bunch of wrinkles to it. I couldn't.
Yeah, this wasn't a specific plan. This was just the idea of people buy a bunch of weird stuff when it's cheap. You know, when you're there anyway, when you're in Target or Best Buy or Walmart or whatever, like, if something's, even if it's something you didn't go there to get and something you wouldn't normally buy, when it becomes a certain savings, you do the thing that I did with Interstellar, where it's like, I don't really want this, but if I did want it at some point, I would rather pay $4 for it than like 15 or 20. So $4 becomes like, I don't know, whatever. And if I was someone who liked the medium of comics, there's a bunch of stuff in our half off section where even for half off, I'm like, I don't really care. But if it was $5, it's like, I don't know, why not?
Sure.
How much junk do people buy at comic conventions that's priced exactly the same way?
Yeah.
Where you'll just buy Ultimate Fantastic Four Volume 7. It's the only one you got, but it was $5. So why not? How bad could it be for $5? So yeah, I could see that being a thing. And again, like the back issues, people like digging through back issues. And if you're like, all of these ones that are normally like just, they're not from the 1990s and they're not, you know, the dregs of the small press. They're Marvel and DC and Image comics from 2 years ago. And now they're 50 cents. So why not?
Sure.
Even if you don't get a whole series, you can get 20 comics for $10 plus tax. That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the two discounts that I thought of off the top of my head of like, this seems like a thing that we could do that's easy to promote. You know, you just do a big banner in the window that says half off graphic novels, $5, one day only. You know, 99-cent back issues, 50 cents, one day only. People can understand that. They can't understand local comic shop day. They can't understand limited exclusive comic books. Like that doesn't mean anything to them. But half off, they get that. That makes sense.
Well, I look at our local comic shop day as having 3 components.
Yes.
And so far we've only discussed one.
The $2 comic books.
Yes.
So how did people respond to the artists that were the creators, I guess I should say?
Now, you notice that I only had about 6 transactions of $2 books. Yeah. And by that I mean like people that just bought $2 books, or when you said this isn't $2, they're like, oh, I don't want it then.
Okay, sure.
That kind of thing.
Right. Any real quick before we move on, what were they picking up? Was it Marvel stuff? Was it Image stuff? Was it a mix?
Mainly Marvel, like it always is.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we didn't clear out a bunch of DC stuff.
No. No. Well, I mean, it's 6 people. We didn't clear a bunch of anything.
No.
That's not true. We cleared out most of our Star Wars back issues.
No, right.
It was mainly Star Wars.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. As far as the creators on hand go, I didn't get a chance to talk to everyone before they left.
Okay.
But I think like as I talked to them, they all seem to have different experiences.
Okay.
I think I'm confident in saying that everybody sold at least something they brought.
Well, that's good.
But it might have been just something.
Sure.
Like, I think that everybody at least sold 1 or 2 things. But for a 6-hour convention day,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah, which, I mean, to be fair, it didn't cost anyone anything to set up, not like a normal convention. But
Right,
it cost
but
you 6 hours of
exactly.
your weekend.
And of course,
Travel time.
Travel
and setup
time,
and
yeah.
Sure, no, I get that.
yeah.
It's a shame. I wish it would have done better for them. We always hope that anyone who's going to, give up their time like that for any of our events is, profitable for them in some sense.
Yep.
That's too bad.
We had a thing where if you spent over $10, you'd get a ticket for a free sketch.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people turned that down.
Sure. Well, again, they didn't come there for an event. They just came there to get something and leave. They weren't, enjoying the day. They just wanted to get a book.
And I get that.
I've done that where, hey, you can fill this out and get entered into a drawing. Like, I didn't come here to spend time filling anything out. I just want to buy this thing and go. You can keep it.
Don Cardenas had a Captain Marvel sketch, a full-color Captain Marvel that he had done.
Uh-huh.
That was left over at the end.
Uh-huh.
So he gave it to us, and I randomly put it inside a Captain Marvel trade.
That's cool.
So somebody's going to get a free Captain America sketch.
Or it's going to fall on the floor and someone's going to go, this was in a book.
Yeah, all right. But I don't know what volume it is. I don't know what run it is.
Sure. But
it's in there. And if somebody goes and flips through them all to get it, that's fine.
Yeah.
You get it when you buy the book.
Sure.
Consider it like a bookplate edition of one.
Sure.
I think that the people that showed up had a good time. Like, I was talking to Alex Rosato afterwards.
Yeah.
And I was couching it all with, like, hey, this wasn't the turnout we were expecting.
Sure.
And Alex goes, I had a great time. I drew a bunch.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And Alex is, I think, the fastest of everyone. Because his sketches are a little bit looser.
Sure. And
he was also the most prolific on social media with putting up what he did.
That's great.
So if anybody follows Alero Art, ALEROART, especially on Instagram, but also Facebook.
That's cool.
I'm sorry, Twitter.
Sure.
He had everything copied. So he was always putting up sketches.
Well, that's great.
We had a craftswoman there, a Prairie Kate Creations, and she had a bunch of origami comic gifts. A couple of different varieties of flowers made entirely from comics.
Cool.
Pins and hair clips, and then gift boxes.
Neat.
And the cool thing about the gift boxes is that the box itself was also just made out of paper.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Mike Norton came by to visit, and I wanted him to meet her, so I brought him down to where she was. And I'm like, Katie, this is big famous comic artist Mike Norton. And he looked at me and he said, I wish you wouldn't introduce me that way. And I said, I did it on purpose because Katie's brother is famous comic writer Kyle Higgins. And he goes, oh, how is Kyle? Why isn't he here? Is he in town for the holiday? So it was a...
They had something to talk about.
Yes.
Sure.
And there was some overlap because Katie's brother is Kyle Higgins, the guy who used to write...
Cowl.
Set in Chicago.
Right. Nightwing.
Yep.
Set in Chicago. Gates of Gotham.
He blew up...
Set in Villa Park.
In Nightwing, he blew up Challengers. Yeah.
Technically, I think he blew up the Blue Line station that we are directly next to, and we were caught in the
blast.
In the blast radius.
Yeah. But he made a point of saying to me at a C2E2 that yes.
Yeah.
That was it.
That the Blue Line Western station was not a mistake or a coincidence.
Yeah.
That was an on-purpose thing.
And he's got one of the most exciting series of his career coming up. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
He is. He's the writer for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers ongoing series from Boom Studios.
And Katie told me that that's a huge get for him because the two of them are huge Power Rangers kids. And
that's interesting.
I also didn't know that because to me they're all Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but Mighty Morphin is that first series.
Correct.
Like it's all different.
That first cast. Every year they do basically a different iteration because for the most part the Japanese version it's based on did that, where each season was a different theme or take or cast or what have you. So yeah, this is the classic original flavor of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yep.
Yeah, but Power Rangers as a brand is a constantly reinvented brand.
Yeah, so I actually learned a little bit from there.
Sure.
And it's fun to know that was their thing as kids.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because it's I read a little something in, I can't remember what comic strip, I think Short Packed, they talk about that, where when you're a certain age, like, the idea that it essentially passed you by. Like, I look at Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I was in my, I think, early teens when Mighty Morphin Power Rangers started, and that wasn't a thing. I was aware of it, but I never watched it. That wasn't my thing. But if you were 7 years younger, or 15 years younger, like, that was huge. You know, that's literally a thing you've grown up with. You've always had a Power Rangers show on when you were a kid.
One of my dad's only ever Black Friday stories, because he would stay far away from the stores, was to get my niece Stephanie a specific Power Rangers thing.
Sure.
Yeah, it was...
and a lot of that stuff is now at the nostalgia tipping point where if you go to Toys R Us now, you can find re-released replica editions of all those early toys, because now you've got people who are Katie and Kyle's ages who now have money and will buy stuff like that because, oh my god, that was the one I had as a kid, or, oh my god, that was the one I never got when I was a kid. So that stuff becomes, you know, back in the conversation.
Sure.
So the craftspeople and the creators didn't do great, and that sucks.
I wanted to point out a Black Friday video that I saw that has nothing to do with the store or comics or even this podcast, but every year there's horror stories about Black Friday events. But someone had posted a video from this year where there was a display of like vegetable steamers.
Okay.
And there's crowds of people like knocking each other over to get these boxes. They're like yellow square boxes. And there's a woman who has 2 boxes, and her little daughter has 1. And a woman...
What are they going to do with 3 vegetable steamers?
I don't know.
I know. That's not the point of the story.
A woman runs up to the little girl, grabs it, rips it out of her hands.
Oh my god.
Now the mom sees it, and the mom immediately starts like, give that back, and she starts blocking the woman in, not letting her get past. And the woman who stole it starts screaming, "Why are you doing this to me? You're scaring me. You're being too aggressive. You're being too aggressive. Why are you doing this?" And the video cuts off, but I'm like, you know exactly why she's doing it.
Yeah.
You stole that from her daughter's hands.
I don't know why the little girl needs a vegetable steamer either, though.
Right. But again,
no,
not the point.
The whole situation is crazy. And I was thankful that when I went to Target, like I'd never gone to a store on Thanksgiving night.
Yeah.
Because I was terrified of those sort of events.
Sure.
And, I mean, sure enough, when I got there at like 7:45, the first thing I saw when I got to the actual store was someone wheeling out a gigantic, cheap flat-screen TV. So, like...
Apex brand.
Yeah, exactly. It's 50 inches by, like, TV Phonics. Like, all right, great.
Yep.
Like, I'm sure you paid, like, $70 for that, and that's why you're here. But I got inside, and it was fine. I mean, there might have been, like, a people barreling through the doors at 6 o'clock when the store opened, but 2 hours later, it was like a slightly busy afternoon weekend thing at Target.
Sure. For the second year in a row on Thanksgiving evening, I found myself at Meijer in Bolingbrook, and there was less people than last year, and last year was pretty empty. But being empty, I came away with nothing, including no 4-foot Leonardo turtle.
Well, they do have them at Target. They just aren't selling them at that great a price.
Right. And that's why we don't have one.
Exactly. Well, the other reason was I walked to Target, and even if it had been a great price, it's like...
Technically, he's priceless.
I don't know how to get this out of the store. Like,
he just walked next to you.
Oh my god, I was not going to literally drag that thing a mile back to the store. That was not going to happen. Because it was raining by that point.
Yep.
And I really didn't want to deal with that.
The plus sides of having the creators there is we got Dave Scheidt to sign all the copies of the Adventure Time that he wrote.
That's cool.
And we got Don Cardenas to sign the Packs of the Low Country that we had on the shelf.
Excellent.
And it got Luke Smarto to print up an ashcan edition of Roberto Phantasma.
Cool.
Which I actually think it came out really well with a nice thick cardstock cover and black and white insides.
That's great.
And a place where he could sketch on the inside front cover.
Mm-hmm.
And he would do sketches of Roberto Phantasma, and Roberto would talk to you in Italian.
Mm-hmm.
So mine, he's saying, "Kiss my ass."
Okay.
Yeah. But in Italian, so it's so much more...
Continental.
Yes, continental is a very good way to phrase it. All right, so far we've covered, I think, 2 aspects. And also,
I saved the best for last.
All of these creators, all 5 of them, were there from 11 until 5.
Okay.
They spent the whole day.
That's very nice of
Yeah,
them.
it was really nice.
I mean, show etiquette is if you're not making money, you can just leave.
Right?
So that if anyone would have packed up at like 3 o'clock, like, yeah, we're done here.
I don't blame you. I did. I told people, like, you can go whenever you want. And from the beginning, they were told that.
Sure. I mean, they're there doing us the favor, and if they don't feel like that's worthwhile to them, I totally get it and would not blame them. So, as we started describing Local Comic Shop Day previously, we'd mentioned that it was specifically from the committee that designed it about limited exclusive items. These were previously released books and comics, but with a new hardcover, a variant front cover. Some stuff was an open order, but print to order. So like you could order whatever you wanted for like the Dark Knight 3 variant, but that was all they were going to make. There's no more after that. There's whatever people ordered for Local Comic Shop Day and no more.
There will be no reorders on these items after the fact.
And there was also stuff where it was a print run was decided before the orders came in, and then whatever you ordered, it was allocated down to whatever they could fill. So for some books like the All New Wolverine, most stores just got 2. Like no matter what you ordered, if you ordered 100 or if you ordered 3, you got 2.
And we heard reports of stores selling that exact book for upwards of $300.
Because it's one of the scarcest items, and again, like most stores got 2. And that's stores that even participated, which is like 300 something stores maybe, or 600 or something. What was it?
350 is what they're...
350.
Yeah.
So for a book like All New Wolverine that might normally sell, God knows, 80,000, 100,000 copies, there were like 750 copies.
Yep.
That's one of the scarcest Marvel comics probably ever produced in the modern era. Like that stuff, if you did a store exclusive variant, you're starting at 1,000 copies. You're starting probably closer to 3,000 nowadays. So the idea of like 700 of these or less is a very small number. Which has been one of the things that we've talked a lot about in regards to Local Comic Shop Day, because a book like that, how do you sell that? It's a book that is going to go online immediately. Like no one's just randomly buying a copy of All New
It would have been
Wolverine.
fun to look up some of these books before we recorded.
Do it right now. But the design for this event was for people who... It's for local comic shops to get local customers to come in and buy stuff. It wasn't about gouging an audience. It wasn't about making the most money off of the event, off of these books. It was about trying to celebrate local comic shops. And I always felt like those really limited items, the Bitch Planet hardcover, the All New Wolverine variant, worked against that, because you're only going to help scalpers. Like that is a book that only rewards...
and this is the thing that you've pointed out, that if the goal of the people who buy the book is to take the book home and immediately sell it for 3, 4, 5, 10 times what they paid for it, what incentive is there for us, the comic store, to even sell it to you? Why don't we just put it online? And at that point, it doesn't matter what you're selling. All that matters is the scarcity of it, and apparently you have some information.
I do. I typed in All New Wolverine LCSD, because that is the abbreviation for Local Comic Shop Day. There are 16 listings.
Okay. You're on eBay, I'm assuming?
I am on the Electronic Bay. A lot of them are... it's listed as limited to 500 is what somebody put.
Okay. That may be true.
Somebody real quick is selling the complete Local Comic Shop Day set, which includes the Black Mask box set that you had to get from Black Mask. And it's got one of everything else. Free shipping. And it's or best offer. But the suggested price?
Yeah.
Any guesses?
$1,200.
$1,500.
Wow.
1499.94. So a little bit under. You save 6 cents. Some people are taking bids. One that's got 4 days left on it is at $152.50
For Wolverine?
For Wolverine.
What?
The buy it nows though go anywhere from low end is $200. The high end is, and luckily, free shipping. That's nice of them. $400. So again, this is a book that the cover price is $3.99.
Yeah.
It's a $3.99 comic. Why would a store sell someone a comic for $4 that is immediately going to go for 100 times that online? When I was talking to Patrick about this the other night, my comparison was something that the artist Adam Hughes has started to do. Adam Hughes is an incredibly celebrated artist. He's a very slow artist. He does a lot of shows and he'll do sketches, and he's really well known for his kind of cheesecakey female superhero sketches. And they're beautifully done, but he again takes a while to do stuff, and he's got a waiting list when he gets to shows, and you have to get on that list right away. People sometimes at conventions he's exhibiting at will race into the event as quickly as possible to get to his table to get on that waiting list before he's all booked up for the weekend. And he charges a regular amount. I can't remember what it was, but at the time it was like maybe a couple $100
$200
maybe.
I want to say.
And that's great for someone who's as in demand as he is. You get a really beautiful marker sketch. That's great. But he was finding out that most of the sketches he was doing for people were showing up online. And they were showing up for multiples of what he was selling them for. And he had this sort of crisis of, he has to make a living too, and he's charging what he feels is a fair amount. And he's charging what he feels is a fair amount to fans. But these aren't fans. These are people who are just using him as a resource and profiting off of it. So if that's the case, why should they be making the profit when it's all of his work?
Yep.
Like, if a $200 sketch is going online for $600 as soon as it leaves his hands, why doesn't he just put it up online for $600? And that's the thing with Local Comic Shop Day and these super scarce items. I'm sure someone out there is a huge Wolverine fan and was super excited to go to their local shop and get this incredibly scarce collectible for $4 that they can have in their collection and really be proud of. They've got one of the scarcest Wolverine comics and they're going to treasure that thing forever. They'd never sell it. 99% of people went to the store to buy the scarcest item and sell it online at a premium. That's it. It didn't matter that it was a Wolverine comic. It could have been a Power Pack comic. It could have been a comic that had cancerous tumors on the inside. It doesn't matter. It matters that it was scarce and they could sell it at a premium. That's it. The end.
It could have had a glass vial of Terrigen Mist inside that would break open as soon as you open the book.
It could have pushed your parents in front of traffic. It doesn't matter.
Yours is just dark. Mine was Lash's origin on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
It was, but what I'm saying is this book doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter what this book personally did to you or your family. What matters is that you can sell it at a premium. And the rules, the completely unenforceable rules for Local Comic Shop Day was that you cannot sell these books at what's considered predatory pricing, which basically is, it's a $4 cover price, I'm charging you $200 or $400. Because while that's what it can go for online, you're a business, and the way these books are sold to you through a business organization, you can't do that. It's illegal. I was going to say it's kind of illegal. No, it's illegal. It's actually against the law.
Totally illegal.
But again, this is unenforceable because local comic shops are small businesses, and small businesses don't necessarily have the spotlight on them that something like Best Buy or Target does, where if they were to do something like this and sell it at a crazy markup, they would be shut down almost immediately. If you're a store in rural Montana and you're selling this book to one of your regular customers for $200, he's not going to care, you're not going to care, no one's going to see it happen. The end. It never happened. So stores like us that don't want to do that are basically leaving anywhere between $196 and $396 on the table. And I'll be honest with you, we could definitely use $196 to $396. That would come in pretty handy any time of the year. So we get really conflicted when it comes to these sort of books, and why we, again, usually opt out of these sort of things because we don't want to do something that we feel is weird or unethical or makes us feel bad about the medium or the industry. But on the other hand, they're selling for $400 online.
Well, let me jump in and make you feel a whole lot better about the money that we possibly left on the table.
Oh, great.
We didn't leave any money on the table.
No one bought it?
We left it all on the shelves.
Did we not sell our all-new Wolverine variants?
We didn't sell hardly any of our Local Comic Shed Day comics across the board,
Well, that's good.
which you will see when you come in because I left them all out for you to see.
I don't know. I'm going to leave them up.
We did, in fact, sell out of one title.
Uh-huh.
Can you name that one title?
Is it A Planet Where Ladies Go?
No.
Is it Lumine?
No, you're thinking too small.
I have no idea.
Dark Knight 3.
Oh, all right. That's fine.
Dark Knight 3 number 1.
Are we completely sold out of Dark Knight 3 in general?
No.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I'll probably order some more.
You should. I think we're down, like, if we have one or two
There's
left.
books like that where one we've got like 3 or 4 left. It's like, maybe I'll get 10 more anyway.
Dark Knight 3 was...
The Dave Johnson cover?
Yes, the Dave Johnson cover.
Okay.
The Rick and Morty Treasury Edition did decent.
Mm-hmm. I guess this is maybe...
that's it.
I guess maybe, like, if you want to think about it in crass financial terms, this is the benefit of not being a store that people go to for variants. Because if we were that store, you would have had the worst day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if anything, you probably would have pre-sold them to somebody because you're a scumbag. But we're not that store. So we don't have to worry about people yelling at us because the super scarce book is out or feeling like we got taken advantage of because we didn't. So that's great.
So in dealing with all of the events from the day and our experiences for local comic shop day, one of the things that I was checking on was how is this being received at other comic stores?
Yeah, again, like the core of the event was the exclusive covers, but each store could kind of add on different things to make that more of an event. And Free Comic Book Day is the same thing. Some stores just give out free comics, and some people have huge signings or big sales or a giant tent outside or whatever. So it's curious, like, not only how other stores are participating, but what they're getting out of it to know if this is, are we doing everything we can?
The difficult thing while following along is because we're doing this through a Facebook group, and it's the individual owners or the managers who are posting, you don't necessarily know, unless you know them, you don't know what their store is or what they're doing.
Yeah.
So when people are updating, all we can see is what they're saying as to how the day is doing. Because literally one of the threads was, how is the day doing for everybody?
Sure.
And it was about 80-20 colossal success.
Wow, okay.
Piles of money. A lot of things like, we're only 2 hours in and I've already beat my normal Saturday numbers.
Huh, okay.
Or, we're at 300 transactions already.
Wow.
Or just things like that made my jaw drop and say, what? But again, we don't know what they're doing, what their deals are, if they're doing crazy sales.
Yeah, if this is off of the back of local comic shop day
Right.
or because it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We know for a fact there's some stores that bought in way more to local comic shop day than we did. Like
we really do. We just tuck our toe in the local
Yeah,
comic shop day waters.
because again, we're not variant guys, we're not incentive guys, so we felt weird about it from the start, but we're like, well, we want to participate, and this seems like a thing that could do well for the industry, so we'll give it a try. But stores that are incentive or variant stores, man, they bought thousands of dollars worth of the print-to-order stuff. Like, they were getting hundreds of copies of the Dark Knight variant that we got a lot less of. They were doing as many of those books as they possibly could because they're limited and scarce, and that's what they sell in their stores is limited and scarce.
One of the annoying things about the Dark Knight variant cover for local comic shop day is while it had a printed on cover price of the same price as the rest of the Dark Knight books, our cost was substantially higher.
It was. It's
substantially higher.
Yeah.
So
we were paying for the benefit of having a local comic shop take
so
over.
that's the one we sold out of. That's the one we made the least amount of money per copy on.
Percentage-wise, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there were stores that just, normally are huge on variants and incentives, could have hundreds of people in through the door to get limited and scarce stuff.
Now I can tell you that there was also the same thread about Black Friday. And all the stores that did amazing on Black Friday had sales, had big sales.
Of course. Why else would you go on Black Friday?
Right. But yeah, there were one or two people that said, like, the only comment was Ghost Town.
Sure.
Which, by the way, is one of the best songs on the new Winery Dogs album, Hot Streak.
Probably not what they were referencing.
I don't think it was.
Like, they didn't mean it as a positive.
Because it was also
it's
like...
as good as the Ghost Town is off of the new Winery
...
Dogs album.
lowercase g,
Sure.
lowercase t, ...
Sure.
But otherwise it'd be like, Ghost Town, ! That Portnoy drum solo was crazy.
And then like a link to YouTube where you can hear the whole song or something.
Yeah, actually Mike Portnoy has a video of him perform, like his tracks being laid down, complete with a drop in of his harmony vocals on the chorus.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, probably not what they were actually referencing.
It's it's tough to get nuance across online.
Especially
it's
in just
easy
a couple
to misinterpret
words.
things.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people were doing very, very, very well. And when I was being asked how the day was going, and I'm always cautiously pessimistic.
I would say fatalistic, but okay.
Ashley Challenger is always the one to say, come on, it's not that bad. We're doing fine. Look at that number. It's fine. I go, yeah, we need to get to this. And then, of course, when we got to it,
sure.
Yeah. She's just not smug, but I knew we'd get there.
There's no living with her after that.
No, it's not like that at all. But it's weird how we can get to the number that I wanted, and I'm still super disappointed by it.
Sure, because the number you wanted was this makes the week okay. Now,
right, but we
this makes this worth doing.
This shouldn't matter at all, but we got to that number almost in spite of the event.
Right, and that's the thing. It wasn't that this event that we put a lot of energy into and a certain amount of money into was successful. It's just that the day was successful and we had this event running. Yeah. So it's again, why do the event? Why not do something else? If local comic shop day is not doing us any favors, why do it again? Why not? Again, why not just do Black Friday? People know what that is.
And maybe the date will change. Maybe it won't be Small Business Saturday.
It'd be surprising. I mean, if 80% of the people who were responding online said it was gangbusters business, I assume we're in for more of the same. Why would they change anything?
I literally don't understand, going back to earlier, why Amex thinks Small Business Saturday is a thing. The support local, shop local.
Yeah.
But that implies that you're going out shopping that day anyway. You're going to be shopping, so shop local. But the people that shop local already shop local all the time. They don't decide to do it on a day that a corporation has told them to do so.
Yeah, I don't know that a credit card company can tell people who would normally go to, Kmart, no, go to your local store that things are more expensive at because it would feel better.
We had...
They don't care.
A produce discussion today.
Okay.
Because I was going to make...
Because it's a day I'm not working.
We talked about Leghorn as well.
Okay.
Well, Ken Challenger is going to Leghorn.
Sure.
Which, by the way, he only ever went to the first time to buy your birthday gift card.
Did he get something when he was there?
He didn't, but he liked the way it looked, but he's been there multiple times since.
This, weirdly, I feel a little bad that I got a gift card for it just that time of year where I'm much less likely to go to Leghorn. I go to Leghorn in the spring and summer and fall because it's a nice walk. I don't go in the wintertime because it's pretty brutal. And
you just talked about what a great walk you had going to Target. Leghorn is considerably closer.
Because that was a rare, nice night where I could do that in November. The next day
are you taking
was
this
30-something degrees.
Amazingly generous gift and just shitting all over it?
No, I'm saying that gift is going to come in real handy in April. I'm saying for the next 5 months... maybe less good.
You should take pride in the fact that you turned him on to this thing.
Sure, I'm glad.
That is now a part of his life.
I'm glad. It's very easy to make Leghorn a part of your routine.
Leghorn has never been part of my routine.
But if you went there once and had food there...
Right, I've never had food there.
You would probably find it a little bit more easy.
No one's ever brought me food from there either, Dal.
Well,
it's weird.
If you were ever around when I was going to Leghorn...
Okay. So what you're saying is you deliberately go when I'm not around. I got it.
Yes.
I think our listeners can cut through and hear what you're actually trying to say. I
deliberately go when you're not around.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
That's fine.
I didn't think I was hiding that.
That whole Leghorn... Oh, produce, right. That derailed whatever we were talking about, which is equally less important.
Okay. Produce.
But everybody... I was quizzing people on where they buy their produce because I bought... produce over last weekend to make things for Thanksgiving. And on Thanksgiving morning when I took them out to make them, they were no longer good.
I did see it in the garbage.
And I don't... Did you see it or smell it?
Well, that's the thing. I saw them in the garbage, which confirmed my suspicions because I did not smell the finished product that usually lingers for a while.
Yeah, after cooking. Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, that's what I get for using the Challenger's kitchen.
This doesn't smell like stuffed mushrooms. It smells like a kitchen.
So I was asking where people got their produce, and even though the place I got mine from has the words Fresh Market in it, it is definitely a chain.
Yes.
And the other people have very specific local places to get produce. Like, nobody ever says, no answer was Target.
Uh-huh.
Nobody said, I get my produce at the Target grocery side.
Right.
It was always either like Whole Foods or the Farmer's Market or Cermak or smaller
I'm surprised
places.
You would. I mean, I know that the Fresh Market was because it was on your way.
Yeah, it was literally on the way.
Right. But I mean, Cermak's just around the corner.
Yeah, but I mean,
Right, you were in the car, you were driving past it.
I passed it. Cermak is an extra trip. I
Sure.
didn't know that I would need it.
Who would have thought?
Right.
They put Fresh Market right in the name.
Right, because it was brought up. Somebody was asking about the grocery store down the street, the new one, the smaller independent one whose name I can't remember.
Can't remember the name either.
Not Danny's, but it was Danny's, wasn't it? But anyway, my point was, yeah, it's a good fill-in, but it's never going to be your go-to.
Yeah, they're by the size of the square footage, they are compromised as to what they can carry. They're one of those, like, not a bodega, but that sort of thing where, like, you can get a peanut butter, but you can't get all of the peanut butters, you know?
Right.
Like, they're going to carry...
Yeah, you could get, like, Skippy and Jif and, like, 2 organics, but
Yeah.
you can't get Planters or...
Right. But if you're someone like me who has a very specific brand of everything I get, I have to go to the biggest store because they're the ones most likely to have all of the various specific things I want to get. Like, I don't just go and get, like, soda, I want a specific thing. I don't go and get bread, I get a specific bread.
That's why we had to stop doing Peapod.
No,
they didn't have many...
That wasn't why. I mean, I was making do with it. We stopped doing Peapod because it was expensive and our third roommate was not in a financial position to continue to subsidize Peapod.
I don't know that we were in the first place.
No, it made a little bit more sense, but that was just a transition from the suburbs to the city where it was like, this seems like it'll be handy. And then it's like, I don't know, just schedule your trips a little bit easier or, you know, make the most of your trips to the grocery store.
Do you ever try to look at those types of conveniences and try to apply it to the comics industry?
No.
But shouldn't there be some sort of crossover or correlation to...
No, there is. It's your iPad. It's a different thing for physical goods that can't be, you know, conveyed electronically. I guarantee you, as soon as, like, there's some sort of...
head beaming service?
No, I was going to say, like, whatever what is the food thing on the replicator from Star Trek?
Yeah.
Like, as soon as that's a thing where you just punch in a code and the food just shows up.
If you could have
no
comics...
one's going to the grocery store ever again.
If you could have comics beamed to your head...
Uh-huh.
At that point... No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I feel like one of the reasons why the delivery service that we tried to get off the ground a couple times never really happened is because you're either going to go to the store and buy stuff or you're going to download it to your tablet. Like, there is no middle ground where it's like, I want this stuff, but I can't get out there and get it. Like,
that's mail order. That's the middle ground.
That sample size of, I want it immediately, but I can't go to the store, but I won't buy digital is so small that even in a city like Chicago, it can't make, like, comics delivery a thing that could happen. Like, there's just not enough people.
So we're
again,
at a point...
People just buy it on Comixology.
If we're at a point where you can download comics directly into your brain, do you think that at that point there's still an act of reading, or by the time it's downloaded you have already read it?
I think it would have to be...
Like, you're getting the...
It would be a letter. You'd have the memory of reading.
Yeah,
memory... You wouldn't read it.
Okay, that's exactly what I thought. But then at that point, why have it?
Well, that's why I don't think it'll ever happen. Well, I mean, it could happen, but it would be like hundreds of years from now. I think the intervening time would still value the act of being entertained.
Right, well,
that act does things to your brain that the memory doesn't.
Whoever just started listening to Contest of Challengers at episode 3000, when you're going back in time to, and obviously there'll be like robot hosts.
Sure.
Not even archetype.
Hologram Dal and Hologram Patrick.
No, archetypes of
I should
our
put my
ancestors.
will not to do that. Yeah, I don't want that.
Your will might me to... If I want to see a robot Dal, I will make one.
That's weird.
Because then I can make it do all sorts of horrible things.
That's why it's weird.
Polish my shoes!
That's weird.
Do it again! Anyway, future listeners, if you're going back in time and getting to this one a couple hundred years from now, did it happen? What was it like? Be sure to email, or I guess thought beam, the current hosts and tell them your thoughts. whatever communication devices you use in the far future. And also, let them know if you think local comic shop day should still be a thing.
Weirdly, MySpace. They use MySpace in the future. Came back around.
Contact all of your friends on Friendster and tell them that you love comics. I don't know that any other things happened. No announcements. No. Was that a question, or you're saying no?
It was a questioning like, no, nothing else happened? Okay.
I mean, in the industry at large, because all we were talking about was the store. What about this week's new Marvel books?
What about them?
Nice
yawn.
Well,
No, I honestly, that was a legitimate yawn. I can't remember what came out this week. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, I read that.
Yeah.
I like the art on that a whole lot. I wish more had happened, but I liked the main character enough that it's not a deal breaker yet.
Here is, and we talked about this with the Binghams in the store, and now that Keith has read it, he knows what I was talking about. But for other people, it's called Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, and when my brother George saw it, he said, doesn't Devil Dinosaur get first billing? It's Devil Dinosaur and Moon Boy. I'm like, no, but now it's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. And her name is Lunella. That's her first name.
Right. And she's a giant science nerd.
So being called Moon Girl is not a stretch.
Right.
However, there's a specific instance, either word works, in the book where a kid references her shirt and says, nice shirt, Moon Girl, and people start laughing. Mm-hmm. And they never show you what's on her shirt.
Yeah, there's no point in the book where you get a full shot at the t-shirt she's wearing.
The only place you see it is on the ad for the cover to issue 2, because it takes place immediately at the end of issue 1. Mm-hmm. And she's wearing a shirt that has the moon on it, and it says, the moon.
Yeah, pretty much every other time you see her in the book, either the front of her shirt is obscured, or she's in profile and you can't see what's on it anyway.
Yeah, the only time she's looking at you...
when they do that joke, she's in profile in the classroom.
Yep.
So you can see her reacting to the joke, but you can't see what's on the shirt.
There's a time where she's running and her arm is up in front of her shirt, so you can't see it.
On the cover, she's in profile.
You in no way get that they're making a joke based off of her shirt.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if it's a thing where the artist didn't get that note in the script, or the writers forgot to put that note in the script, but
or the artist ignored it, or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like either the artist ignored it, or the writers forgot to make it.
To me, that's a thing an editor should say. Hold on, we need to see the shirt at some point.
Yeah, it's a little glaring in its oversight. But otherwise, I like the main character a whole lot.
Yep.
I like the modern day stuff. I don't care about the prehistoric stuff. I think trying to tie it in this soon to the prehistoric stuff is maybe a misstep. It's definitely where the story starts to drag, which is why maybe without that stuff, Devil Dinosaur could have shown up in the modern day a little earlier. Maybe make it a little mysterious. We don't know why he's there. We'll find out later. It's not important. But yeah, I did enjoy it, and I'm excited for issue 2. I don't think it's a home run, but I think it's definitely the sort of book where, if you're a fan of stuff like Ms. Marvel, stuff that's a little bit more
quirky,
goofy, and fun, less committed to being like
Squirrel Girl,
over the top and violent. Not
Silk.
It's not Squirrel Girl or Silk. Squirrel Girl is like Howard the Duck. It's more overtly comedic.
Okay.
And Silk is definitely like a set in the Marvel Universe action comic that has levity to it. But stuff like Ms. Marvel, there's a charm to it that I think is more in line with what Moon Girl's doing, where the stakes aren't super high and the characters have things to overcome that are not superhero related. You know? Mm-hmm. Like, Lunella has stuff she wants in her life that is not related to defeating a villain or being more powerful or solving a mystery. And I think that's kind of what Ms. Marvel has, where there's elements of her story that are locked into the Avengers and the Inhumans, but there's stuff in her life that's just stuff in her life. And I think that's the advantage it has as a storytelling tool, is if you're, like, I think we had talked about back when Ms. Marvel came out, even though she doesn't really get her powers until later in the first 5-issue story, I didn't care, because I liked what she was doing, and I liked the art, and I liked the world that she lives in, and I liked the supporting cast. And that's rare in a Marvel comic, where you don't need the Marvel stuff to happen right away. And so, yeah, I thought that's what worked really well with Moon Girl. And I'm trying to remember what else came out. Silk? I guess Silk came out.
Silk came out, and Silk is as good as it was before.
Yeah, it's a solid superhero title in the Marvel Universe. It's definitely their Batgirl comic.
They come at it, way more than Spider-Gwen. It's definitely their Batgirl comic.
Yeah.
I like the fact that J. Jonah Jameson is in her book.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in everybody's book. Like, he's her supporting cast.
Yeah, and they do some fun stuff with him and how he relates to both Stacy and to Silk.
Yeah.
Like, they do some fun twists on the classic Spider-Man, Peter Parker, J. Jonah Jameson dynamic.
Spider-Man is a menace.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that he only ever calls her Analog.
Yeah. One of the things I think is, and I don't know if this is the idea behind Silk in the first place, but because she's a character that has kind of not been in pop culture, all of her references are what not a woman her age would make. They're what the older guy writing the book would make.
Yes.
And as the older guy reading the book, that's really funny to me. Because I get that reference. Like, she wouldn't make that reference. Oh, wait, she would, because all of her pop culture is, like, it stops dead in the 90s.
Yep.
So she's the one who will make a Friends reference, you know?
Yep.
But she won't make an Orange is the New Black reference, or she won't make a
Breaking Bad reference.
Or a Steven Universe reference. Like, that's not her pop culture.
Yep. Hey, I have an Alias comic book question.
Okay. I haven't read that in a long, long time.
In the comics, do you remember how she got her powers?
I really don't. I remember that she had a thing with Daredevil's origin, and then I think she had a thing with, like, Peter Parker went to her school.
Yes, she was in Peter Parker's class.
Yeah, she had, like, a crush on him. That's the thing that eventually came up in Bendis' Avengers stuff.
Yeah.
Is he had to go, like, when Peter Parker had revealed his identity, she had to go, like, yeah, I went to your high school, and, like, I had a huge crush on you, and you were a giant nerd.
But she was present at the experiment where he got bit.
Yeah.
Funny she never mentioned Cindy Moon getting bit by that same spider.
No, there were a lot of people in that crowd. I think that's one of those, like, mounting revisionist history things where now there have been, like, 15 named characters at that event beyond Peter Parker. Like, I want to say that some of the Straczynski stuff put, like, Elijah or somebody else there.
I'm pretty sure Bumblebee was there, right?
Bumblebee was there. He was a cardboard standee. You'll recognize him in Amazing Fantasy 15. Yeah, what else came out this week? Oh, Dark Knight 3. We can talk about Dark Knight 3.
Yeah, Dark Knight 3 was okay.
I don't know that I'd say it was okay. I didn't care for it. It barely registered with me. The art's fine, and the story is. I don't even know what the story is. It takes forever to get going, and I don't care about anything that's happening. Like,
yeah, but how many Batman stories have you ever actually cared about?
A bunch. I like Batman.
Okay.
So much of this just feels.
You like him, you'd call him the Batman.
It feels like a really. I shouldn't say really. It's a semi-faithful cover version by a band that you don't care about.
Okay.
You know, they're not doing anything wrong with it, but they're not doing anything new with it. And yet, at the same time, they're not the guys who did it in the first place, so why should I care? Like, this... the best thing about DK3 is the inside back cover... No, the last page of the book, which is the DC All Access news page, where it's usually like an interview with some creators for a new book or an upcoming book, usually one that's just come out like that week.
Yeah.
So this week's was Brian Azzarello and Frank Miller. And it's so hard to tell that these two guys were in the same room during this interview because they give completely contradictory answers. The Azzarello stuff is all of the company line of like, yeah, you know, we really wanted to do something with this, and it's a ball working with Frank, and he's got so many great ideas, and they're really trying to play up the, like, Frank Miller is crafting the story even though he's not writing or drawing it. And then Miller stuff is like, I'm a consultant. Like, they do what they want. They wanted to do something. They asked me if it's okay. I said, sure. Like, this is not my story. Like, he almost all but says that. And yet Azzarello has to keep doing, like, no, this is Frank's story. And it's like, Frank Miller is almost explicitly telling you, this is not my story. I'm not taking credit for it.
Well, he's come out and said that after the fact. Right, and also, like, I'm going to write Dark Knight 4.
But what's crazy is this is in a DC comic, and they printed it.
Yep.
They could have not printed that. They could have said, let's just run Azzarello stuff. But somehow they thought it wasn't completely tanking the company line to have Frank Miller say, I didn't write this. I don't know what they're doing. They're doing whatever they want. They can play in that toy box. It wasn't mine to start with, so it's fine. I don't care. They seem like they know what they're doing. I don't know.
My favorite part of Dark Knight 3, #1, was the Frank Miller Adam mini comic. The one that he drew.
Yeah, it was fine.
I liked it.
Yeah, it's all right. All of it is just fine. Like, none of it... And that's the shame of it, is that you had something that was lightning in a bottle, you know?
Yeah.
Dark Knight Returns was a good Batman story. It's one of the most... Still to this day, one of the most beloved Batman stories. I mean, in the past 30 years, there's been some reappraisals of it that maybe have knocked it down a few pegs. But in general, it's still one of, like, the top 3 that people who don't read Batman comics know about. But every time they come back to that well, it feels a little bit drier. Like,
yeah.
DK2 was really divisive. I thought it was fun, but most people hated it. DK3 is not going to be as shocking, but I think that's almost, like, worse. Is that it both in Dark Knight Returns and Dark Knight Strikes Again, you felt like there was something being said, you know? Frank Miller had something he wanted to say about or with Batman. You might not agree with it, and you might not like the way he's saying it, but at least it felt like he was saying something. This just feels like another Batman comic, you know? It feels like the Jeff Lemire work for hire stuff, where, you know, he's not hacking it out.
It doesn't feel like a capital E event.
It doesn't feel like it's about anything, and maybe it will be, but at this point it just feels like someone said, you know what would sell well in Q4? Dark Knight 3, let's do that. And it does, and it will, and it'll make everybody a ton of money. Like, I don't think sales of 8 are going to be anything to write home about, but sales of issues 1 and 2 are going to do great. They'll make a ton of money. They've already made a ton of money selling store-exclusive variants across the country and probably around the world. But the story there is just, there's nothing there. Even the first issue just hits around with a bunch of different characters. And I don't care about anything that's happening. Like, nowhere in that issue did I think, God, I can't wait to see where this goes. Never once.
Well, I do think that we have this is an upcoming week of really good, potentially good first issue releases from All New, All Different Marvel.
Yeah, man.
So I hope that we have a lot more to talk about next week.
Let's hope.
Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 North Western Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. You can visit Challengers on the web at challengerscomics.com. You can direct email to challengers@challengerscomics.com. You can become a fan on Facebook at facebook.com/challengerscomics. And you can follow Challengers on Twitter at twitter.com/challengerscomics.